Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Today we have another in-house podcast, and we're going to go through some of the gear that we've used and tested throughout this year. So one of the hotbed items is the saddles. So we go through the saddles that we've used, both the Trophyline and the Tethrd, and kind of where to go from there if you just want to start out, and those are your two options. I mean, those are the only ones that we can speak on because they're the only ones that we've used. And then our sticks and climbing methods. We go through our packs and camera arms and things like that. So kind of an informational podcast, just kind of like our opinions on the things that we've been using, things we like, things we didn't like, and just kind of like a real world, as we used it type assessment of the gear that we're running all year this time. So I think there's a lot of good information in there, especially for guys that are looking at saddles and have questions about the different sticks and climbing systems and things like that. But real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to our latest Patreon, Jerry Casperson up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Thanks for signing up. He's in the running now for our full saddle hunting kit that we're going to be giving away. We talk about a lot of the products here in this podcast. That's going to be a full Trophyline Ambush Pro setup with a set of Muddy Pro sticks and one of the Artisan Outdoor Fabrications platforms. So everything that you need to become a saddle hunter, we're going to be giving away to one of our Patreons. And so our Patreons are just kind of like a crowdfunding thing for creators. You can check it out at Patreon/Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. And that helps us to be able to go get some of this gear to try out and go to these shows, talk to some of the guests in the upkeep for the podcast and things like that. And it really, really does help us out. So if you want to help out the show, definitely check that out. Or, basically we do quarterly giveaways, and we give away kind of some more big ticket items and kind of things that people are wanting to see, to give back. It's not just to help us out. We want to make sure that we've got extra value there for you. So we've been doing some live streams on when we do the podcast. So the Patreons can go into their Facebook group that we've set up for the Patreons, and they can, follow along in real time and kind of see us dinking around recording these. And it's fun to interact back and forth with them. So if that's what you're interested in, you can certainly check that out. Or maybe you just want it to be a raffle ticket to buy some, get some really nice gear. The odds are very, very good. I mean, so right now there's like 25 Patreons. So basically these guys have a 1 in 25 chance of winning a full-on everything you need to saddle hunt kit. So just throwing that out there, that's going to be drawn after the first of the year. So this may be the last podcast before the end of the year. I think we've got one more coming up, and I don't think we'll have one to drop on New Year's Day, but we'll have one soon after that, and then it'll be an ATA show. So we got a lot of big things coming up. But if Patreon's not your thing, no big deal. No skin off our back. We just appreciate everybody that's listening. We really, really do. One thing we would ask, though, is that you just tell a friend about the podcast, whether they're, in this case, looking at saddle hunting and they want to hear some guys that have tried a couple of the different ones, different climbing sticks, or, maybe point them to another podcast that help you out, one of our episodes, and leave us a review. So either click that 5-star button, or if you really like us or you really hate us, go ahead and, just type out a review saying what you like, what you didn't like, because that helps us to get better. And that's really what we want to do, is just to keep this thing going and to make it better every week, and better for you as a listener if you liked one thing and didn't like the other. We'll never know if you don't ever say anything. So leave us a review if you can. Thank you so much for following along. Follow along with us on Instagram, Facebook, our YouTube page. We're going to have, we talking this one about a pretty fun hunt that we just had with Frank, and we'll have that one up too on our YouTube here pretty soon. So we do appreciate everybody that listens, and I know you're going to love this one. So enjoy the episode. Thanks. Hey everybody, Adam and John back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Today we're giving it a try with the videoing one more time. We started out doing that from the get-go, and because I do all the editing and everything, and it was just too much. So we kind of took a hiatus from that, and now I think I've got it figured out where we can do it. I'm not real happy. I'm not liking what it looks like on the little screen there, but I think it'll be all right. It's just the lighting in the background here. But if you're just listening, our podcasts have been going up on YouTube just as audio files, and I really want to get back into video and doing the streaming and stuff like that, and so we're slowly going to be transitioning into that. But this podcast, I just want to go through like our gear. We've been fielding a lot of questions, especially about the saddles, but the sticks, and so I've got some of that stuff back here. I thought it'd be a good one to do the video on, and just kind of go through some of the listener questions that we had, and we're streaming live with our Patreons here, and they had some questions about our bow setups, why we were shooting thumb releases rather than trigger releases. How do you practice like broadheads, and then how do you practice with your hunting arrows? Things like that. So just kind of want to get in on that. So as far as the bow setups, my bow setup's the same as last year. So it's the Diamond Deploy SB, 60 pounds, 440 grain Black Eagle arrows, and the tooth of the arrow.
I thought it was 70 pounds.
I think it's 60.
No, I'm pretty sure that one was 70. Your other one was 60.
Okay. I've got two similar, very, very similar bows. So 70 pounds then.
Yeah, because we had to bump your arrow shafts.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
From the old bear bow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yep, that's right. So 70 pounds, and nothing changed. And you wanted to know about the quivers. So I'm running the Trophy Ridge 5 light quiver, which is like, it's very similar to John's tight spot. Just me being me and being cheap, it's like a poor man's tight spot. You can adjust it in and out. It doesn't cam on like that. It actually rotates onto a bracket, much like one of the cheaper ones would do. But
hang on to that thing, the lead anchor.
But
you gotta do the limbo.
Yeah, but that is what I'm shooting. In that I wanted that quiver. I went with that quiver last year when we went to Idaho because I didn't want to pay $100 or $100 plus for the tight spot, and that was the closest thing. And I wanted to see what the big difference would be from $100 quiver to a, I think that one's like $40, $50, something like that. So to me, it seemed like a budget tight spot. So that's what I'm shooting. And then with those tooth of the arrow broadheads, and then what we do for, we were both shooting fixed blades. You shooting fixed, you shot the Rage.
I shot the Rage Tri-Pan, and I got a plethora of different broadheads.
Yeah, my quiver looks like ridiculous. Right. But for shooting them, with those tooth of the arrows, you can resharpen them. So I was just using one of them and then sharpening that one, and just kind of tuning them that way.
Got the Muzzy Trocar, got the Slick Trick standard 4-blade, and then I got my tri-pans. So, and they're all hitting about the same spots.
Yeah, and so you just take one, and that's your...
Well, what I was doing, like if it's open, no brush, if I'm not in the marsh, then I'm just, and there's possibly a long shot, I'll stick with a tri-pan. But then if I'm out in the marsh, or it's a short shot, short distance, and there's some brush or, maybe some twigs, then I'd go with the fixed blade just for deflection. But like I said, they're both, or all three of them are shooting pretty much the same. So the fixed blades drop a little bit. So, but that's fine for shooting at short distance anyway.
And then the expandables come with like a practice head.
Yeah.
John, you were taping up some of them big ones, but
yeah, I got one of those hypodermic
practice
heads, but mainly I switch over my nocks. So even like if I'm practicing during the season, I'm shooting the same arrows with my nocturnals, and then I'll shoot. I have several broadheads that I'll go fling out there, but if I'm just getting reps, I'll shoot my field tips. But
yeah, so there wasn't any big real changes in that department for us this year. Frank got a whole new bow. He's shooting all sorts of stuff, and he's shooting very poorly. So
we need to get him that head like the bow hunting fireman. You see a guy?
No.
Yeah, that's a funny one. He shows a turkey head, and he's got all this stuff like draped on it, and he shows him like shooting a turkey, and then when he goes out to get it, it's already quartered, cut all up.
It's a pretty funny video.
It's a funny video, yeah.
But yeah, so as far as our bow setups and the quivers and arrows and stuff, everything's pretty much the same. But next year, I can tell you, and it's kind of alluding to one of our new podcasts that's coming up here after the first of the year, after ATA, is I'm going to build some heavy freaking arrows. And I've got
day 6.
Day 6 arrows. Are those Fletch or just bear shafts?
No, bear shafts.
So, that's cool. So I'm going to have John build. I would say I was going to build them, but I'm going to have John build me some heavy arrows, and probably going to shoot a big single bevel. Probably the cutthroat is what I'm looking at. They don't seem like they're very... they're expensive as far as broadheads go, but they're not iron will expensive, so they're not $150. Like $60 or something like that. But yeah, nothing's really changed in that matter. But we've got a lot of questions regarding our saddle setups, the sticks, kind of like the way that we have been running that. So what big changes did you make this year, John?
Well, I went completely. I had my XOP set up at the beginning of the season, and I was just, it's a great stand and stuff. Sticks are great, but it's just, for me, it was just too heavy for carrying camera gear and all that. If I strip down, I'm not carrying the camera gear and stuff, that it's doable. But after the first couple hunts, that's when I was like, man, I got to do something different. I got to try something different. You let me use the Tethrd, the Mantis. So grab that one up here and let's...
Yeah, so I started the season hunting from the Mantis.
So this, what's it weigh? Like
nothing.
Not even a pound.
Well, but the thing is, so anyway, so John was hunting with his stand. I was hunting from the Mantis. Then John got the ambush, and this is the ambush light
from Trophyline.
And it's mesh. And John sat in the Mantis one or two times.
One time.
And he was like, I need to get a saddle. Was it the bulk, or was it the weight, or was it comfortability?
It was just pretty much everything, just the ease. I put it on and wore it in, So that was one less thing I had on my pack, I'm using my Exo Mountain Gear frame pack. And so I just took my pack off and I'm using the frame. And so I'd put the stand on, strap that on, then I would have my bag and I would put all my gear in that, strap that to the stand, and then I would take my sticks and strap that onto the back of the bag. So, just a ton of, dinking around in just bulk. So once I put on the saddle, I just strap it on and wear that in, and then I just have my sticks, and I got rid of my pack part, and I just strap on my extra clothes and my old fanny pack. And so it's considerably less bulk and, way easier.
Yeah. So for me, the Mantis was fine. I didn't make any sort of changes or anything like that. And then we've got, John got the Trophyline, and I didn't get to sit in it or anything. I just got to see it. And they're two, everybody wants to know what's the difference between these two saddles, or what saddle should I start with. And personally, so I have an Ambush Pro now, and I've been hunting with that ever since I got it. Not because I think that it's better or worse, or that I didn't like the Mantis. It was just simply to be able to speak on it without, I feel like on these forums and stuff like that, like you never really know who's talking. So you don't know who, did they sit in a saddle? There's so many people that sat in a saddle for one time. They're like, I fucking hate it. It's,
right.
It's too much work. It's, but they never actually did a stand and sticks hunt. They never did anything like that. They didn't, that wasn't their,
their norm.
They were going to hate it anyways to start with. And when we talked to Tethrd, Greg said that. He said, if you think that you're not going to like it from the get-go, you're not going to like it.
Right.
And so that it's just not fair to, to the saddle community or whatever. There's so many people that are just out there bashing. So they're two completely different saddles, and I wanted to be able to speak intelligently on both of them. And so like on the video here, like the Tethrd one and the Trophyline one, I got them held up side by side here, and the Tethrd one is 100% minimalist, and it is not rigid in the least bit. You could ball it up into nothing. And so it's, if you want lightweight, packable, whatever,
you jam that into a fanny pack,
a cargo pocket,
right.
if you wanted to. The Trophyline, you certainly couldn't do that at all. No,
it's pretty substantial.
And if you think of like a shooter's belt, or like if you've ever carried a handgun like in a holster on your belt, and you use like a leather belt or a cheap canvas belt or something, the weight pulls it down. And when you have a duty belt or something like that that's rigid or has a metal frame in it, so that it doesn't pull, and so you can carry that weight, that's more of like the way that the belt on the Trophyline is designed, and that's the way that one is. The Tethrd one is more like a seat belt, and it's built that way, to be, minimalist, small, and it serves the same purpose. Now, one thing that I noticed when I had it is that when I've got a couple pouches on there, when I fill up those pouches, they start to weigh it down and fold back, and it gets kind of frustrating, to some degree, dealing with that. But it comes with the territory. The Trophyline is heavier because it's a different build, and when we talked to Trophyline, they said it's more of a hammock style. Well, the size of again, if we were to talk handguns, the purchase of the Tethrd versus the Trophyline has, I would say, a third more material. It's longer, it's deeper, and so when you sit in it, they said it's like a hammock style. Well, with the Tethrd and what I had heard about saddles was all about hip pinch. Like, oh, hip pinch, this, that, and the other thing. The first time I sat in the Trophyline one, I felt like it was squeezing my guts out. It wasn't hip pinch because it didn't land on my hips so much. And
comes up through.
Yeah. And so and I don't know, it feels, and I don't know if this is because I've sat in the Tethrd and I have that fit in my head, but it feels like I'm in almost too big of a saddle. Like if I would have went one size down, and I'm like a 36 waist, I'm like 6 foot, 225 pounds. I think if I would have had a smaller one, and then when we ordered these, I was thinking we should have got one of each size just to see if there was a difference. But that's the main thing that I noticed. Now Tethrd has a Amsteel fixed bridge, and the Trophyline has a web bridge,
which is adjustable.
Well, it's not. So I talked to Sean, and he said it's not adjustable. It's not designed to be adjustable, but you can
use it, because I did that the other night. I was just playing around with it. I know it's not designed to be adjustable, but you can actually slip it in. Like if you pull the top strap, it'll shorten up, and as you're hooked into the bottom, both of them, then the bottom one becomes the bridge, and then you have like a excess loop kind of hanging through it. But you can do that and it was completely secure.
But it would be, well, first of all, we don't recommend that because you're playing with your life. John's reckless, but
there's no way you can.
But then wouldn't you have an issue, like if you had to make one of those shots where you had to like actually rotate the
swing through it?
Yeah,
not necessarily. I mean, you could the excess was just kind of hanging over, but it did make it changed the angle a little bit. You're shortening it up, so you're bringing it back.
So you don't have as much of a sweep.
Right, and it also, then you're getting even more pinch, on your, it's actually like in your abdomen area. I feel it like at the base of my ribs sometimes if I'm really like scooching into it.
In the Tethrd bridge, to me, and like I said, I have very little, and everything is so personal with saddles. It's another thing. It's like, I can't tell you what's going to feel good for John, what's going to feel good for me, what's going to feel good for whatever. But the bridge on the Mantis seems quite long. The Trophyline's is shorter, and I think I like that better. I think I like a shorter bridge. And that's one of the things that gets me is like I see these guys. So the saddle hunting community is built from DIY realm.
It is a hair longer.
And so they started when there was only so many options, right? So there was only Trophyline or a Guido's web or whatever, cutting, hacking, sewing, making their own thing. So I read on saddlehunter.com, researching bridges, and they're like, yeah, I got a new Trophyline. And then I spliced in a whoopee sling Amsteel bridge, cut the other one off of that. And it's like, it's brand new. Like, why would you do that? And then anytime, like, I think about, like, when we're at ATA and when we talk to Greg, I've got to ask him questions because I've got another tangent about ropes that I want to get into here. But it's like, man, it's like, I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands, like, whenever I modify something, like, at this level, because it's,
you're hanging by a string.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. But both of the, when we had Trophyline on, they talked about the belt and that it needs work or could be upgraded or whatever. They know that it's a heavier saddle, and you put your ropes in your pouches and everything, and it does slide down and open up. And that's what I've noticed. But I did notice that the Tethrd belt didn't, the buckle was better, but it didn't hold either. I felt that sliding down. But that's been my experience with the two. And the microfit adjusters, didn't know what they were. I got them with the saddle. Didn't know, I know how to put them on there. I put them on there. And I think once I put those on there and started just messing with them, because when you're not underweight, it doesn't do anything. It's like, these are just extra leg loop straps. It's just one more piece of metal to dink around with. But I think that's when I've fully like locked into it being like comfortable, like fit my body like perfectly.
Right.
Those microfit adjusters that are on the Mantis, I
Basically,
think they make a huge deal.
And that was my.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed with your Tethrd, I didn't use them either, but I could see the purpose in it. And then when I got the Trophyline.
So what is the purpose? Explain.
So what that'll do is, as you pull the micro adjust, it brings the strap that's underneath, like basically right underneath your butt. It will pull that tighter. So now you're not just having all the weight on your belt strap. It adjusts. It like cups your ass. So, and that's what happens with the Trophyline, is you don't have that adjustment. So that's why it like slides up and then it pinches your abdomen, or like I said, it's like right at my ribs. And I can keep scooching it down, but there's no way to keep it there.
So again, John's been hunting all season, sands a handful of sits out of the Trophyline. How much have you played with like your tether height with all of that, like where it's actually on the tree?
I've done
where your prusik is.
Well, that's another thing with the Trophyline. When you
we'll get there when we get to the ropes,
but I've had it all over. Like over my head. I've had it chin level, eye level, and about eye level is about where I end up setting it now, pretty much.
Yeah, because that was the one thing. Like I said, I got in the Trophyline, and I was like, oh, that's different. It's like in my guts, but it's kind of designed that way. I mean, it's more material. It wraps around you, and it just has a whole another feel. And I think, so again, we're not saddle experts, and we're not saying like we've tried them all. These are the ones that we've tried, and this is been our experience. But I think like kind of like the way that the Trophyline is kind of like what they're trying to do with the Flex, because what they did is they put a pleat in that so it opens up and it fits kind of to your body without the microfit adjusters, but without all of the extra material on the sides also. It's kind of like a hybrid, but that's my understanding of it. I can understand why that would be that way. But one thing that I always keep in mind is in looking at all the saddles, but like the guys from Tethrd, they all started out basically hunting from the old Trophylines or making one their own because they didn't like what was available. And so Tethrd's coming out with a new saddle at ATA that they say is going to be like the best saddle that's ever been produced, and it's going to make saddle hunting change forever. Well, I'm super interested to see what that could be, because there's another company that's in Michigan that sounds like they think that they've got like the same idea that Tethrd's coming out with, and they're kind of waiting to see what that is so they can see kind of what's going on. But I think there's going to be a lot of different things with the saddle community coming out here pretty soon. But what I was getting at was what this Mantis is a bunch of guys that were building the perfect saddle, but they're all different individuals. So I can imagine that there were some compromises that were made even with this Mantis, because
they're all
they can't all like the exact same
they're
tether, bridge length or this or that,
and they're not all built the same either, because that's a big thing.
Oh yeah, and so it is such a personal thing. But yeah, when I sat in the Trophyline, I was like, okay, this is different. But then I just adjusted my bridge height or tether height and the prusik and where that was and everything. And I was just like, okay, this is, it's the saddle. It isn't, what I can equate it to is if you sat in a lone wolf and you hunted a little lone wolf your whole life, and then you went and you hunted out of a Millennium, you'd be like, there's things that I liked about my lone wolf but this Millennium seat's pretty nice, but I wish it had this, and it doesn't have the Versa button, and all these different things, and then
But price point. So I mean, so what is this kit?
Well, so that's the thing. So the saddles themselves aren't that. I mean, between this ambush is like $169, and then the camouflage one is $179, and this is $199 for the Mantis. And that's just for the saddle. That's not for anything. And then when you get into the ropes and carabiners and all that stuff, the ropes are like $50 a piece. I mean, I think it's like about $400 to get into a Mantis, maybe less than that, probably. And then this one is like $269, $269 ready to go.
That's with bridge. I mean, that's with your lineman's rope, your tethered rope, and that's with 3 carabiners
and the 2 pouches. And if you from Tethrd, when you order it, you get either the microfit adjusters, or you get a pouch and which is their store your stuff.
The sys pouch,
the haulers,
sys hauler.
But that's what so the ropes. Grab that rope down there. I'll grab this one here. So Tethrd uses Samson Predator rope, and I don't know what the name of the rope is. I know that Sean has told me. But the thing is these ropes are just so damn bulky, and that's the Trophyline is a little bit less bulky, but it is just ridiculous. Like trying to carry these ropes, and I'm sure that the Tethrd guys are like, compare it to your, not Tethrd guys, even just any saddle hunter in general is like, compare it to your tree stand or this or that. It's just one thing that I noticed. Like, I know that you could put these in the pouches and you can put it all, and they carry just fine. But when you try to put them in like a pocket on your pack or something like that, it's like more stuff. So that's one of the things, and that's real. That's something that's like bugged me.
No, in mine, I have my ropes on the other saddle, but I have just the little drawstring bags, and each rope goes in one on each side, and that's where they stay.
Yeah, and you could do that, but we're going to do a video just on this, and I want to see, like, trying to put these like side by side in like a sandwich bag,
Yeah,
because that's the way kind of to show how to do it. But personally, and I think I'm going to do this for the next season, is Wild Edge sells Sterling Oplux 8mm rope. So I don't know what this is like 10 and this is like 11mm or something like that. But this is like rope that was developed for like SWAT teams and special forces. It's like super strong, balls up to nothing. And that to me is like what I'm going to go to. Now it's 8mm, so it's not rated for a regular Ropeman 1. You could use a Ropeman 2 on it. But if you use a different knot and one of the tenders, you can use that. Personally, if I was going to get into saddle hunting and I wanted to, like, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, and I didn't want to, spend $400 or $500 because you still don't have a platform. You still don't have, there's so many different options. I personally would buy whatever saddle that you wanted, just the bare saddle, whether, for $200 the Mantis, or if you're just wanting to get into it and to try saddle hunting, one of the Trophlines, for $160. And then, they've got, like right now, I think they've got 15% off. I'm sure that you can find a code for, to get some money off of that yet. And, they put out that product to be a price point saddle. So that's what I would do. And then I would get a hunter safety system, rope, tether, for my lineman's belt, and they're like $30. I've seen them as cheap as like $20. That's what I would use for my lineman's belt. Because, I mean, I built mine. I was using one last year with a ropeman and a carabiner that I got off of Amazon. And that's what I used all year last year. And it cost me like $12. And, if I would have just used a Prusik and a regular carabiner. But
the carabiners that come with it, though, I mean, these are the black diamonds.
Yeah, they're like $20, $12, something like that.
A piece, and you get 3 with this, plus then you get your 2 ropes, and the...
Yeah, but you get I mean, if you were just going to get into it, like I said, you might have a one of those hunter safety system ropes anyways that you could use, or the one that come with the muddy.
Yeah, like the lineman ropes.
Yeah, and so that's what I would use. And then for the tether, I would get that rope from it's pre-spliced, so it's not spliced, it's sewn. So the trophy lines are sewn, and so then they're sheathed, and the tethered ones are spliced. So there's a spliced eye. So they fold up a little bit nicer than the trophy line ones. That's rigid. It doesn't. But Wild Edge, it's spliced, and it's that Sterling Oplux rope, and it can literally like fit in a can koozie with your carabiner. You just wrap it around there like paracord. But it's like safety rated climbing rope. And so that's what I would do, is get that one for $40, or you could go on doublesteps.com and buy it. It's like $2 a foot or something, and for $20 you could tie up your own. But then again, like I said, you're taking your life into your hands with that. It's like you can trust somebody else to have your life, or you can do it yourself. But the what John was getting at with the ropes, Trophyline, their Prusik knots are like 9 miles long. The tethered one is probably 6 inches, and after it's wrapped, and that is probably...
That's 7 after
It's wrapped 6 times. So Prusik has to be wrapped 3 times to be safe, to get enough bite.
And that's what it was at when I got it.
It was at 3.
3, and then we put 3 more in it. Just
put
to take
3
up
more
some.
in it, and it's 6 inches. And how long is this one actually? 5.
Not even 5.
And that's from tether, so it didn't have to do anything with it. And it doesn't make any sense. It seems like they could save some money.
Yeah.
Just on rope. I mean, you could use half that rope.
Yeah, that thing was like, it seemed like it was a foot long when you get your weight on it. And so that took out a ton of your adjustment in your tether.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. People will probably be like, well, what does it really matter anyways? Well, on your tether, you are limited in the amount of, you don't want to be 4 feet from the tree.
Right.
And if you're a foot to start out with, at the bare minimum, you lose some of that adjustability. But the same goes, I mean, if you're on a small tree with that lineman's belt, you got to reach all the way around the tree to try to tighten it up. And
yeah,
I mean, in that, I was very surprised. John said that, and then when I got mine, I was like, oh man, that's really something. Like it's not exciting. So like I said, I personally, that's what I would do. I wouldn't mess around with the
so this is
unless you bought like a full kit and it was a deal. The ropes are just, I mean, they're important. It's 10.5 inches.
10.5 inches, and that's not even being stretched. That's the brand new one.
The brand new one. So I would just use different ropes, and everybody, you can use, you could use one of those hunter safety systems, one for your tether. And there are plenty of people that do it, but there's also plenty of people that have made paracord saddles, and it looks like they're just asking to fall to their deaths too. So,
or if you don't want to screw around and you want a system that's fully ready to go, and money's
no object.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, it's not even $100 more, and you get everything else with it. It's ready to go. And then if they're using the discount right now, then you're not looking for the right carabiners, or,
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like,
or having to tie a persic, or getting that rope. I mean, the DIYers, yeah, buy the saddle and then figure out your ropes. The guys that just want to get into it with no worries.
Yeah.
For the money, this Trophyline is definitely
it's a gateway drug. It's an entry.
Yeah. And then you can do stuff like we were talking. Bring it to the local seamstress, and you could have some micro adjusters made real easy, sewn into the side straps, and then you would be able to change that, the position of the bottom strap, so it would cup your ass more, and you'd be able to adjust it and give you that adjustability that make it more comfortable.
Yeah, I may just do that. I've been thinking. I mean, you got two of them, so I mean,
yeah, we can take this one and do it.
I have. I don't know why, but when maybe they send them with everything, maybe not. But I do have extra ones of these.
The buckles.
From Tethrd, these D hooks. I've got 4 of them, so we can certainly do that. And I think maybe the last thing on the saddles is these tenders. So with a regular prusik, you just put it back, but you just have to slide it on your own. And when you wrap it 6 times, it locks up a lot harder than it did at 3 times.
Now, see, I didn't think that. I thought that 3 was a pain in my ass.
Well, see, on my tether, it's like it was so hard to adjust.
Yeah.
But so one thing that they do is you can have a tender, so you can do it with like a loop of paracord around like a D-ring. There was a local guy who I saw in one of the Facebook groups who was 3D printing these tenders, and so I got a hold of him and I bought a couple for him because John was like at the end of his rope with just doing the prusik on the linements. The tether isn't that big of a deal, but it's just a simple thing, and he makes them for if you wanted to run a distal hitch, if you want to run that hunter safety systems rope, because that one has like metal crimps on it, and so it's a little bit bigger diameter. He makes one for that, so you can put it right over that and it'll work with that rope. But basically it's the same as a ropeman to a degree. I mean, it just helps you slide the prusik one-handed up. It doesn't help you loosen it, but it helps you tighten it just with the same motion as the ropeman. And they run about $10, or you could make one yourself out of whatever. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to do it, and you could certainly do that. And then the ropeman is like $40 or $50, and it's
if you can find them.
Yeah, right now they're all sold out because everybody in the saddle community, now there's more saddles, now there's more saddle hunters, now there's more demand. I got this one like 2 years ago, and
you're not using it now?
No. Again, simply, I mean, I'm not running the tethered ropes that I got. I'm running everything on the Trophyline just so I can see what I like and I don't like. And John already said, like, right out of the box. And honestly, so both of my ropes are the same color from Tethrd, and I think they have 2 different colors. So I don't know, and they list a lineman and a tether. I got this last year for Christmas, so I have no idea what was ordered. And they had such a huge demand, the whole time, and they were just scrambling to put together orders. And my mom was chewing their ass out, saying, "Hey, I ordered this in October." So I don't know if these are 2 lineman's belts. I think the tether is a different color now. So
more of a brown, isn't it?
yeah, and so I don't know which is which, but what John noticed is these are no, I do have two different ones because the difference is the size of the eye. They just must have had different ropes because this has a much larger eye to go around the tree to go through. But on those sewn eyes on the trophy lines, the lineman's is only big enough to get the carabiner through. You can't put your whole rig through that.
Right.
So, and that was frustrating because...
Well, I wanted to get rid of one of my carabiners.
For the noise.
Yeah, just eliminate noise. It's one less. That, and then I could just leave it hooked to my loop on the right side, and then
just tuck it in,
and then go.
Yep. So
and then even if you could, like what I did with, so what I'm doing now, since I have two sets, I use my other tether, and I'm using that as my lineman. But then when you go to tuck it, it's got this sewn, and then with the ridges heat shrink on it, it's kind of goes in and then kind of sticks out funny. But it's still better than
you
having,
eliminated a piece of metal. So.
Yeah.
But the tender, I've been using it, like I said, just to see, and I don't have any I've had zero issue with it. Now the Ropeman is a little bit smoother, I guess, but if I were to rate, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how easy is it to work without a tender, without a Ropeman, is probably like a 4. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it's not. Well, it's the same coming, loosening it, tightening it up is a pain. A real pain because you have to use 2 hands to tighten it up,
and it's kind of dangerous. I mean, like if you're if you get up to the top of a tree, you're setting your last sticks or whatever, your ring of steps, and it's a little bit smaller up there, and then you're trying to like hold on, and then the rope's too long, and next thing you know it's falling down, so it's past your line of weight, your waistline, so that's kind of dangerous. I mean, you could fall farther than what you should, or flip over backwards or something.
But like tightening it up with a tender is like a 7, 8, and with the Ropeman would be a 10, as far as like...
Yeah, but I mean, at first when you dropped it off, I was like, what the hell is that? But I've been using it ever since, and it works great.
Yeah, I mean,
for the money.
Yeah, $10 versus 50.
Right.
I mean, I have a Ropeman, so...
I don't use it. I only use it on my lineman's belt. I don't use it on my tether.
Yep. And John, when I brought those over, John's like, "Well, just give me your Ropeman. I'll buy it right now. I got the money. They're just not in stock." I'm like, I'm not ready to just, get rid of it just to get rid of it. But, I'm going to try it. And so I mean, I guess your like final thoughts if somebody was like saying, "Okay, well, I just want to get a saddle. Like, which one is the best?" Like, I don't think you can say that one is the best.
Right. I've sat one time in the Mantis, so, I mean, it was definitely...
So, like I said, I just want to, like, equate it to, like, tree stands, right? So, have you ever... You sat in a tree stand before where you're like, I'll never sit in this piece of shit again.
Right.
And you sat in a tree stand where you're like... probably your Summit, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like,
it's like a lounge chair,
the most comfortable thing, and there's trade-offs with everything. So, I'd imagine that through the saddle models, that there's going to be some sort of trade-off here or there. One thing's better than the other. But what would you say to someone that's looking for like a saddle? Because like you were on the fence about like last year, you were like, "That's so stupid. Like I'd never do that."
No, it just looked like, what the hell are you doing? Even when you were showing me at your house, like right before season, and you're hanging on your pine tree, I'm like, you look like a freaking tetherball, dude. but no, I'm glad I ended up trying it, because I mean, honestly, I don't know. I looked at my Summit sitting there. I hate to get rid of stuff, but it's like, it's just going to sit there and collect dust. I don't see myself using it.
Well, see, and I'm like on the other side of that. And, one of our listeners said, the patrons, he said they're trying to consider like a tree stand, like a good, nice tree stand versus a saddle and, which one, this, that, and the other thing. Like, so last year using the Air Raid and then having the Vanish and then the Vanish Evo, I'm just, since using that Lone Wolf Climber for so long, I am just like spoiled or like super jaded on like
the hanging hunt stand.
No, like on like just the on cast, like anything like aluminum, like I'm just like
tube aluminum.
Yeah, like
clanky.
No way. And for the money, like that XOP Evolution, that Vanish Evolution is a great stand, and I have the Vanish XT, and it's like what you said, like I don't know if I'll ever use it because of the saddle is like, but it may be nice to have as a, so today I filmed Frank, I filmed him yesterday, and I had to be in a different tree because he won't give up his climber, and I would have to climb up after him and, be, when with a climber, with a 2-piece climber and like trying to set your sticks. And like, even when you and I were doing it, like setting that hang on,
right,
was like my platform was like right at your back. And so everything just has to be just so. And it might be beneficial if you were going to have like a preset or something, or go up and hang a tree stand and then throw a platform on behind it. I might keep it around for that. But it's like, personally, I think I would get another, like a XOP climber and get rid of that hang on, and just, if I'm going to hunt from a tree stand, that would be what I would do it. And it would be somewhere where I already know that there's a tree. I already know exactly where I'm going. And I just don't want to like fart around with it, because I mean, especially with the cast climbers, I feel like they make a fraction, 25% of the sound that like any of the other ones that I've ever used. And
talking climbers.
Yeah. And I got pretty proficient, using the one that I had. So maybe if I used the Summit for 10 years, I would have been a lot quieter with it. But there's just not a lot of bangs and clangs with a rubber strap and a cast stand.
So I guess if you're going to go in and sit and you're going to use a climber by yourself, why wouldn't you just use your saddle?
I know. And that's the only reason would be is like I'm lazy.
Just because you didn't want to put your sticks on. And
yeah, that would be it. And like I said, this year I haven't hunted out of a tree stand one time. I've not set foot on I used the fucking loggy by bottom of the climber.
Yeah,
in a saddle.
So that kind of brings me. I'm like,
hey,
that really doesn't even count as a saddle hunt, does it? You used a climber base to go up, and you hooked into your saddle.
Hey, I mean, I got to try it. It's for the good of the cause. What not to do.
But I mean, our listeners already heard this. But would you suggest that again?
No, I wouldn't do that ever.
Because it seems like it'd be kind of dangerous.
Well, and the where you have to put your feet on a saddle is right where you don't want to put your feet on a climber. So
right,
it's
up
like
close to the tree.
Yeah, it was.
You have no leverage.
I was definitely scared. And I've been stuck up in a tree without a bottom of a climber, so I was ready for it, but it doesn't make it okay. But yeah, so as far as I think saddle packages go and everything like that, that's been our experience, and that's been our experience this year. And like I said, I'm doing my best to, try out both of them. And it's like sitting in two different tree stands. Like it's in both, I wouldn't say it's like hunting from like a lone wolf and XOP because I think they're cut from the same cloth. But it's I don't have a huge difference. I think saddle hunting is so novel and it's so personal, but you can set them up. It's just a matter of like what you'd want. And I don't want to sound like ambiguous, but it really is just like, if you wanted to hunt with a tree stand, if you wanted to say, okay, well, I'm going to get whatever stand I want. Well, that Lone Wolf custom gear stand for $500, was pretty freaking awesome. Like, I've not hunted out of one, and I've heard and read all the bad things and this, that, and the other thing. And I've heard more good than bad, and like I said, I've held it in my hand and messed around with it. And if I had $500 and I was going to buy a tree stand and I was going to buy it for a purpose, that's one thing, but that takes a certain type of customer. Now, if you have, $200, well, then that XOP is going to be just fine, and it's going to serve all the same purposes. It's just, a little bit different. So I think it's kind of the same on that. But I think one of the other hot button topics is always like climbing methods. And very soon here, one of our listeners, one of our Patreons, Chris, has a small fortune in bee sticks coming here, and he ordered them. They may be here this week. But then I want to do a video to kind of put together, because between us, we have like every single version of popular stick out there, with the exception of the Lone Wolf custom gear sticks. So we've got Mighty Pros, XOP, Lone Wolf, the cut down APIs, set of cut down heliums, and then Chris will have the beast sticks. So we'll be able to kind of put them all side by side and, kind of give like a rundown of what's what. And so what are you climbing with now, John? And what did you start the season with?
Well, I started, I still have my XOP sticks, and I have the 4 of them. And then I got the Wild Edge steps from you, so I'd use my 4 sticks to get up top, and then I'd put 3 of the Wild Edge steps around. But I like those Wild Edge steps so much that I ended up getting rid of one of my sticks, because we only have 5 of the Wild Edge. And so I'd do 3 sticks up, then I would do 2 Wild Edge, and then I'd do my ring of 3. And that puts me up, close to 20 feet.
And so, Frank still has 6 of those primals.
Yeah, those, did you say something about you didn't have the rope?
Well, they have buckles.
A buckle.
So, but you can cut the one buckle off and do the same knot just with the tail end. Yeah. Or you can tie up a rope.
Right.
Well, and I've got a ton of rope. I just don't have that rope
But yeah, I think
ham steel.
Just to get rid of the bulk of the sticks. I mean, because those things are, it's nice to be able to strap a stick on and be, I'm using full length, so they have 3 steps on it. And to get up. But it's just, the Wild Edge steps are just so easy. And as you're taking them off the tree, you're putting them in the pouch. When you get down the bottom, you just jam the ropes back in and you're done. So you strap it to your bag, or you throw it in your pouch, and on your way you go. Where you got to take your sticks, wrap them back up, stick them together, strap them to your pack, then load everything on top. So it's just a little more.
And how much does the XOP sticks weigh?
I don't know.
They're almost 4 pounds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're heavy.
Yeah. And so, now that I think about it, you're carrying a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was 52 pounds.
Not kidding, but not even that. So when we get into packs and stuff, like John's got one of it's like the bucket or something. I don't know what it is, but the Badlands fanny pack, and then you've got the pack of Wild Edge steps, and then you've got your EXO pack.
Yeah, but
I don't packs.
But on my EXO, I'm not using the actual pack part right now. The bag, it's just the frame.
Yeah. But I'm just like...
Yeah, so I got a lot of...
You got a lot of bags.
I got a lot of bullshit. I'd like to get rid of... What I'd like to do is get rid of the sticks and then just put my pack back on. And then I can just throw everything inside it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go.
Yep.
And then I'm not having to worry about strapping stuff on and, taking things. Then I can throw my extra clothes in the bottom, whatever. And then, the fanny pack can go right in the top of it too because that bag's big enough. Because I don't ever use the fanny pack as a fanny pack because it doesn't have the freaking suspenders. So
like the monster fanny pack does.
Yeah, so that thing just slides down all the time, and if you tighten it up too tight, then your hip flexors by 100 yards, I'm about ready to fall over because my hips are hurting so bad. But
so, how do you like those, like the Wild Edge steps and the doing the knot and everything? Because that's what I bought them for, was because I was like, I got to try them, so we can figure it out. And you're just the test subject on this one. But I just couldn't get the knot where I was comfortable with it, and like trying to do it in the dark.
The knot is a piece of cake. It's getting used to
where to place
it, and then on
how tight it is.
Yeah, and then on some trees it's easier than others, but like I was in a white oak and that bark is real soft, and so when it bites in, and so you got to like cam it over and you mess with it a little bit, and it starts biting, and you got to pull it back up a little bit, tighten it.
Well, and I think that's where, because I was trying it on that same pine tree that I was doing the tether in, and so like I couldn't get it to bite right, and it was like, this should be easy because this is a soft bark tree, and you'd think it would just dig right in.
And that, and just getting, now I'm pretty, it's pretty easy. Just the ring of steps, you got to weave it a certain way. If you don't, what I do is I go over the next step and then through. We'll have to do a video on it. But if you try to put it like through underneath both little teeth on your previous step, you can't get it up enough to get it level with each other. So what I do is I kind of go over and then through, and then it lets you get up high enough to let it cam down. And then all it is just the rope goes over the top of the one, little upright or bar or whatever.
Throw those sticks on the scale there, and we can see what those weigh. So I started the year with a set of Muddy Pros, and I bought a Ridge Runner. And I bought a Ridge Runner because I bought it I did like a pre-order on the Ridge Runner, and I wanted to see, there was nobody that had one. There was no videos out on it. So I was like, well, I want to check this out. And I did, and I didn't know anything about saddle hunting, and I didn't know anything about platforms. So I messed around with that platform, and the way that the Ridge Runner works is it's got a cam over, and you have to put it perpendicular to the tree, tighten it up, cam it over, pop it back up, tighten it back up, cam it over again. Well, when you do that at 3 feet off the ground, it's no big deal. When you're 15, 20 feet up and messing around with it, for me, wasn't something that I was real comfortable doing. So I said, I'm not going to use that. And I got that top stick platform. So I hooked that onto the Muddy Pros. And I hunted with those for the beginning of the year. And the platform started to like loosen up. And the steps, because of the way that they cam down, they kind of wobble back and forth a little bit. And the reason that they do, and even on my API sticks, that platform, and I'm not talking like an inch, I'm talking about like an eighth of an inch that they move. But when you're at height or whatever, or when you're using it as your platform, it's one of those things where you're like, any movement is like, is it going to break off or whatever? So I was like, I'm got to try something else. So now I just tighten it up. And the reason that happens with that, any of it, because even on these API sticks, it does it a little bit. The bolts go through and they go through onto the standoff. And the standoff is designed to move a little bit. Well, like with the Lone Wolf sticks and the XOPs and the single step things, there is a stop there. And that stop is mechanical. That stop could move a little bit side to side, but it still provides a top, a stopping point where that comes down. Where these ones that have a double step, and there has to be some sort of tolerance where the step slides over the tubing, and so that's what the movement that you're getting is when that loosens up. You can tighten it down as much as you want, and that standoff will move just a little bit, but eventually as you use the sticks, that standoff's going to move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's going to tighten up just enough to give you enough little to pucker up your butthole when you're standing on it at however high you are. And so that's why I switched off from the Muddy Pros, and I'm actually considering going back to them just for because I'm using the Versa straps on here. And so John said, with my platform on my top stick, it was 3.7 pounds. And that's with the Versa strap. And it was what, 2.6?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.6 with the Versa strap for that. So I have 4 of those. And they're 24 inches, 22 inches between the steps. And the reason that I wanted to go with that, first of all, they're the cheapest, basically the cheapest stick that you can buy out there that has a fixed, that has a double step, and these are fixed double step. So looking at the length of the Beast stick, and they're super expensive. They're $80 a piece, and they're super hard to get. People aren't letting go of them. There's like no aftermarket for them. It's like a true buy once, cry once type deal. And as soon as they come available, they're sold out. So I was looking at these API sticks, and you can get them for $79.99. I think they're $99.99, but they're always on sale. Bass Pro or Cabela's or whatever it's called these days. And you can cut them down. So my buddy Eric, that was just on the last podcast, and my brother Dustin, we bought 4 sets of sticks, cut them down, and then we each ended up with a set of 4 sticks for like $115. So these are like as close, they're not as light as the Beast sticks, and they don't have all the features, but I mean, as far as like a poor man's Beast stick, that's what we are going for. And I think, using these Versa straps, that's the only thing that I don't like about them versus the Muddy Pros. The Muddy Pros, that cam cleat on there, it's just super easy and super slick, but they're short. I think they're like 20 inches long, and they're heavy. I think they're like almost 4 pounds. They stack weird. These ones, Eric does a lot of, he's like John, he can build anything, and so he staggered these so the distance between the steps stays 22 inches, but there's the overhang, the 2 inches on a different end, so you can alternate them, and they stack up flat on the ends, where the Muddy Pros, they end up being a diagonal. So if you had like 6 sticks, they would be, longer diagonally than they would be, what would that be? Horizontally. So we set it up like that. And these sticks, I mean, so what was it? You said 2.6 pounds. So it was like just over 10 pounds for 4 sticks. And then so with the added, it's like, I think it was 20 ounces was the platform when I weighed it in the video. So, and I can get, today we were probably about 15 to 18 feet today. But then I was using, with the Muddy Pros to start, I was using a 2-step aider on my bottom 2 sticks. You can get well over 20 feet with that. But I built myself out of this 8mm accessory cord, single step aider. And I just set that so that it was the distance between the step from the bottom standoff. So, or from the top of the stick. I tried it from the bottom standoff, but then you can't move it. But this, I loop over the top of the stick. It gives me an extra step, and I can get, it's like having an extra 2 sticks because I can get 4 more steps higher. And when I was in Missouri, there was a few times where I really needed that because of if you're hunting on hills or ridges or anything like that, like you end up being eye level with what you're trying to hunt. You need to get a little bit higher, and only having 4 short sticks. And like on one of the videos I was showing Eric and Frank, and they're like, "You look like you're like 80 feet in the air." And I'm like, "I'm really high." Like I was probably 25 feet to the back of the tree and to the front of the tree where it fell off. It was a long ways, like down. But I was trying to stay out of the wind, and I was trying to not be eye level with the deer. So that's what I was doing. So, all right. John just fixed my release. So, and I don't know if we went over that, but the reason that we're shooting the thumb releases is because we're videoing. And so it's one less thing to clank around when you're messing around with the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other reasons for that, but consistency, whatever, but mainly that's why I'm doing it. So, but as far as these sticks, I think what I'm going to do next is do a rope mod on them. The Versa straps, I love them that they don't weigh anything, that they're light. They're super long. I got the 8-foot ones, so I can go around like any tree. But besides that, it's kind of a pain in the ass when you're up trying to make sure that it's at the right thing. And I haven't tried the daisy chain am steel, but I would imagine that it's probably the same thing. I think those would probably stay open a little bit easier. So it'd be something to consider. Maybe I'll buy 1 or 2 of those and see how they work. It's not gonna weigh anything more or less. But I think the rope mod is a lot more like the Muddy Pros, and that's what I used for. I had a set of leverage sticks, and I did the rope mod on that, and it was just as easy as the Muddy Pros. But these have they don't have a true Versa button. They have like whatever the hybrid Muddy Versa button is. So it's like this big plastic disc, and so I don't know what the diameter of rope that I would need for doing that is, but yeah. So that's the sticks that I've went to, and I'm very happy with them and that platform. I mean, I got a lot of questions about, I put up that video. I haven't had another cameraman, John, to video me actually on the platform, so I can't stand on it and video my own feet and going back and forth and spinning around and making the shots and everything like that. But as far as that platform, it's the Artisan Outdoor Fabrication platform that goes to the top of your stick. That platform only has like one downside, I think. One, like, so what I like about it is that it doesn't weigh hardly anything. It's already on the stick. I've got to set the stick anyways. And so, like, when I was out a couple weeks ago, I only wanted to get up just high enough so I could see over this brush. So I only had to set 2 sticks. I did that, got up, and I was hunting. Like, it was just that easy. That is great. That was one of the issues that I had with that Ridge Runner, was setting the platform. It was another thing. It was just one more thing that I had to mess around with. And I mean, it sounds funny now because John's like, well, I got to set these 3 steps and I got to weave them in and out and I got to make it all perfect. And like, once I set that last stick, I'm hunting. Like, it's no big deal. But the one bad thing about it, and John, I don't know if you've experienced this with the saddle. When you get up to like your hunting height, because the Wild Edge steps as a platform would have the same issue. When you're trying to set your bow holder or your whatever you're going to hang your quiver from or whatever. So I'm using one of either the Tethrd hang your stuff strap with a hero clip, or I'm using one of the HME hooks that just is just a web thing and it straps on and clicks on. Well, with the saddle, I feel like that fucking thing has to be like 9 feet over your head because your bow hangs down and then you've got the camera there and you've got all the other stuff. And so that platform doesn't have enough space for you to stand up on it. Like if you were on a Predator or you're on that Ridge Runner, you wouldn't have to be on your tether the whole time. You could actually stand up if you wanted to. On that, you can't. I mean, you could stand up kind of on your toes, but I mean, it's like it would be like being 20 foot up and standing on a windowsill, to a degree. Have you noticed like that?
Yeah, it's kind of it is kind of tough. Like because I'm setting mine up high, like you're saying, and then you got to. What I end up doing is usually pull my lineman super tight so I can get up upright, and then get the things adjusted. And I'm still using my old bow hanger, and I got to figure out something different with that. But
Violator.
Nah. I do have some of those S hooks and stuff, but I need to get one of those tethered straps with all the loops in it.
Yeah. So, like I say, that is the one thing that I've noticed, that there's not enough room to stand on. So, doing that, you basically have to have your lineman's belt on, and then, but other than that, I just don't. I mean, again, that's kind of like where I'm like at a loss, or like I'm not any sort of authority on anything, because like I didn't like the Ridge Runner. I never hunted from it. I killed a deer out of the climber base, and that was a clusterfuck. And this is just like so easy that I just don't see any other reason to change. And I will probably end up trying a Predator, but I feel like the guy with the fucking board in front of the college saying this is the greatest thing ever changed my mind, because it's something else that I have to set up. And I mean,
so that's where I'm ready to try the Predator.
Yeah,
just because of.
But it's less things to set up. It's just one loop
instead of doing
three. But so it's even less than what you're doing right now.
Right. But also because there is like, in order to turn around and shoot behind you, like if you're going to switch around and shoot off the offside of the tree, I think having that platform is going to be a major advantage. Where I don't know if you'd seen like any of the demos where like you swing underneath with your. So if you're shooting a right-handed bow, you have the bow in your left hand. You swing your right hand under the tether, and then spin around the opposite way, and then the tether goes across your chest, and it like holds you in. But now you can stand on that platform and shoot. If anyone's interested, just go to Tethrd's. I think when they were with the Hunting Public, they did a demo. The Hunting Public did a demo with Tethrd on it, and what's his name? Tethrd.
Greg?
It wasn't Greg.
Ernie?
It was Ernie. Ernie was doing the demo, and he made it look so easy, like he's just up there dancing, so. But that, and I do get pressure, like my feet start falling asleep kind of, because I'm, the wild edge steps are nice because they're rounded, so I'm not getting like super, sharp pressure points, but I do have to shift my weight, and next thing you know, I'm like, my calves get a little like my calves are a little sore today after not being in the stand for a while and then hunting their night. But
that's weird, because I definitely had that the first time that I sat in the saddle for any amount of time. Like my feet were fucked, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And people were talking about your boots and like pressure points and how were you sitting on it, and were you leaning the whole time? And now that's like I get. Like, I don't know, if I notice that there's any sort of bit of uncomfortable stuff for my feet, like, I'll adjust my tether height or I will do something different. So I'll either go from sitting to leaning. And a lot of the times when I'm actually sitting, like, I wear knee pads. And so I'll be sitting, but I'm actually not sitting. I'm kind of like a cross between leaning and sitting, and a lot of pressure will be on my knees on those knee pads. But like this morning when I got set up, because I just, right when you first get set up, everything, you don't know where anything is as far as like, is it going to be right in the tree, whatever. So what I ended up doing was where I set it up, I was actually sitting. Like I could just, like, if I wanted to, I could just lift up my feet, and I was just, it was quite high. The tether height was, so I had no issue. And I wear the just cheap knee pads that I got at Lowe's. I just found like a black pair that looked pretty comfortable. They weren't hard. Like
I don't have knee pads. I just use I took the seat off my XOP tree stand, and I just usually I end up just hooking it to the camera arm strap, so it's right there. So for myself, like I said, I haven't had any of those issues, but I find myself leaning a lot of the time, or I'll go back and forth between the two. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's like miserable because you're like, there's nothing else, that's the only place that there could be pressure because you're. Yeah, but it's not bad. It's just, I'm just, like, I'm doing the same thing. Then I'll just like lean up against the tree with my knee on the pad. Then it's just like super comfortable. But that's when I start getting, as I get closer to the tree, then I start getting more of the squish, I can lower my tether down a little bit but.
Yeah. So, and then with filming, we've had some questions about like what our filming setups are and what the gear is and everything. And I was using the 4th Arrow base in camera arm and everything, and it was just way too damn bulky. Like it's just absurd. And that's another, like, again, like I keep saying, like I got to do all these videos, but I want to put that in a freaking gallon-sized Ziploc bag because it won't fit. You have to have the base and the shoulder, and it's just too big. And so today, like I tried it, I'd heard people say it, but I bought the Out on a Limb camera arm base. I didn't buy the Assassin's Reach. I just bought the base before I went to Missouri, and I told him, I was like, will it fit the fourth arrow thing? And he's like, I don't think so, but we'll see. They told me straight up, like, this is the bushing that we use. Like, they might have a different one, but this is what we use. And so when I got it, I fully expected to have to figure something out, and it fit just fine. I had zero issue, just went right straight in there, and I've had no issue with it. And that's got a bolt buckle, so it's not a ratchet strap. It's not as tight, and it's a little bit, I don't know. It's if you've ever used a bolt buckle, like, of course I set it up backwards. I ran it through there backwards, so then I've instead of camming it towards myself, I got to cam it away, and inevitably it's on the other side of the tree, and I've got to pull it around the other way. And, it's like knowing your equipment. And so now I'm able to set it up fairly easily. But like I said, today I put it in my cargo pocket, and there's no way that you could do that with the fourth arrow. If you were hunting setups, like a preset stand, you could have the bracket on a tree. You could put that just the shoulder in your cargo pocket probably. But and then the arm itself, I'm running a Badlands Super Day pack. I put it in the water bladder thing behind there, and then because I broke the fluid head that John was using, I just gave him my other one, and then my other fourth arrow setup my brother has with that fluid head, so I don't have a fluid head to use right now. So I've just been using a ball head, and so my videos are kind of jerky, but it hasn't been too bad. But that cuts down on the bulk like crazy. And I'm actually thinking there's a knob that you can use to adjust the ball head, like the tension on it. But I'm thinking about getting a piece of threaded rod and then a turnbuckle, and then putting that knob back on the outside and being able to use that to just pan it side to side. It won't do me any good up and down, but it would be nice to do that. But I'm also so I switched up my camera from using a handy cam. So using the Sony like CX 160s. They're like super old. You can get them for like $100 on eBay. But the reason that I went with that one, it was like the cheapest camera that I could get that you could run a
this one?
Yeah. Lank remote on. So like one of the VariZooms, one of the the thumb things.
It is a CX160.
Yeah. HDR CX160. It's not fancy at all. And they're small. You could put it in your pocket. You could put it in a small.
What's crazy is the setup I'm using. I'm using the Muddy Pro Arm with this little camera. So I could put a freaking 10-pound camera on that son of a bitch. And so that's part of my bulk too. You couldn't put any part of that thing in a pocket. It won't even fit in my pack.
So, but yeah, so there's a bunch of them. Those Sony CX series cameras. You just have to look and see if it has a Sony S port or a auxiliary port or whatever. And then they make an adapter. So, and it'll run a thumb remote. So for self-filming, that's like super, super awesome. But I had a Canon HFR 700, and that one couldn't take a Lank remote. It was really nice, easy to use, and but a little bit harder because you couldn't use the remote. So I bought a similar one to that, like a lower end model as like a backup camera, and I lent that one out to John or somebody last year, and I destroyed my lower model camera in the water and in the snow last year. So I'm very leery about that. So then I bought this bridge camera. It's the Panasonic Lumix FZ300. And it's like supposed to be weatherproof, waterproof, splashproof, dustproof. It'll shoot 4K. But it's a little bit cumbersome to use because it's like more of a DSLR style. So I shot fucking 35 minutes of video today. I shot Frank missing a buck 2 times, and I shot a bunch of great video. Well, I thought it was great video, but like, because there's a lot of manual settings and I'm still learning the camera, like the ISO's turned way up. So although it is snowing in the video, like it's a little bit grainy because the ISO's turned all the way up when it didn't need to be because it was 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's definitely like a learning curve, and I'm kind of frustrated with myself about that, but the video it'll turn out pretty cool. I was showing John right before we got here. So,
Uncle Frank got a little excited this morning.
But it was fun. We've been having fun. So, but yeah, so I'm using that out on the limb. The base that they sell, it's like $70 or $80 or something like that. But the amount of money that it is versus the amount of dicking around, I mean, we can certainly sell the one that John has after the season and get
it's definitely going to be
something smaller. But I mean, I could challenge John. He could buy one if he wanted to. But he's got this big one of mine.
Yeah, fun tickets are limited for me right now, so I'll deal with it for the rest of the season. But I'm definitely gonna either buy that base or, I mean, you've had good luck with it. I mean,
yeah, it isn't perfect, and I think it wouldn't take much to change it to be good. I mean, it's metal, so depending on the temperature, it locks up differently because I think it expands and contracts. And I feel like if it had like, so it's like a cam that's threaded, and I think John, even if I just left it over with John, I think because of the way that you can adjust the tension on it if you wanted to. But if you've ever tried to like level a scale or something like that, like as soon as you like offset one, and it's like a 4-hour ordeal trying to get that bubble like back in the middle and messing around with it. So like it works just fine for me, but because of the way that I have to use that particular camera, I have to like use 2 hands and move it around and, do things. So if I put too much pressure going one way or the other, I end up putting it out of level. And I've got a picture, like you can see it on our Instagram, but I JB welded a fucking bubble level on the top of my thing because there's on the camera, on the arm itself, because there was no level. So I just did that. So, but I'm happy with that setup.
And what arm are you using on that one? The 4th arrow, right?
Yeah, it's the 4th arrow arm, and I actually have 2 of them. But the one that I'm using right now is a 3-piece arm, which is supposed to be like better for saddle hunting. And I was thinking about it this morning. Like, I'm not exactly sure whether I like it or not. It's pretty cool, but it can bend and twist and contort like 100 different ways.
Well, I mean, I could see where that would be nice because
you can go all the way around the tree.
Well, not only that, but you can also keep it tighter to you. So like with the Muddy, it's a 2-arm and they're long. So depending on where I'm at, I have to like lean out to get it to go past me. So if you had deer in close, you wouldn't be able to, and they went around the tree the opposite side, I probably wouldn't be able to get it around without being, seen. Because I have to lean way out to get it past my belly.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had a fox come by today. And it went right underneath the tree, and I had to go back around the tree, all the way back around and down. And it didn't care. And those deer, I mean, you saw the video. Those deer didn't look at us one time, even after being shot at twice.
Yeah, they didn't know that you were there, at least.
No, they didn't look at me. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm using the Super Day pack. I was using the Pursuit pack last year with that straight 4th arrow arm. That's a really awesome pack because you can put the arm on the outside, you can put the camera in there's big side pockets. If you're using a small handy cam, you can put that camera in the side pocket, and then you got enough room for a little bit of stuff, and you can put your stuff on the outside.
What's that pack run?
that Pursuit pack.
Yeah.
It's $100.
$100.
Super Day pack's like $200. But the reason that I went to the Super Day packs is as soon as I started with the saddle and I didn't have a stand to strap the sticks to, I strapped them to that Pursuit pack, which is a small little pack which is about the same size as a tree stand. When I put the sticks on the pack and it didn't have the wings on it to like cinch it to your back, it was like flying around everywhere and it just wasn't cool at all. Like I couldn't tighten it up enough to make it.
Now my pack, my EXO mountain gear, I mean, the pack part of it's like the 3500. It's the one we used out west, but they just came out with an 1800 for the K3 frame, but it'll also fit the K2 frame, which is mine. And it's $200 to buy just the pack, the sack part, and it'll strap right to mine. So I'm looking seriously at getting that, and then I'll have basically two packs, for my frame.
Yep. Yeah, and I've been looking at different like frame packs to try and figure out like what I want, and it's like I'm just that kind of sadist that like
I love mine. It's so light.
I almost bought one. Like I had like so much money laid out like recently and like coming up on Christmas and everything like that, but Axo had their K2s Black Friday for $400.
Oh, man.
And it was any size, like whatever they had. And I got on there as soon as it was there, and like I was like, oh God, do I buy one? Ask for forgiveness rather than permission, like whatever. Like I don't need one. I have so much stuff, but then I went on there like an hour later, and they were all sold out. Everything was sold out.
They're gone.
And it was, it was like whatever. I don't necessarily need one, and it's like, well, the Eberly stock ones look pretty nice. Like the Mystery Ranch ones look pretty nice, and like the Mystery Ranch is certainly in the same conversation. I mean, so I know like you're looking at, Exo, Kafaru, Stone Glacier, and then like the next tier is like Mystery Ranch or like Badlands. And I've almost bought one of those Badlands Varios. I really like what it is.
I would say Mystery Ranch is right in the same.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, they're right there. That Badlands Vario looks really, really cool, and I'm pretty excited about it. The only thing is, like, when I was reading reviews about it, like from people that have actually used it, is the magnesium frame flexes, and so yours flexes too.
Yeah, it flexes a little bit,
but it squeaks when it flexes, and that's when people are like that's a deal breaker,
Mine doesn't.
So that's the one thing, and like since they were like they're just brand new out last year's ATA,
right?
I'd like to see if they have like another version coming out or something like that where they're kind of like addressing these things.
That's what I was thinking too about that 1800 pack. We're planning on doing another elk trip this year, and then I'd have, depending on how we hunt, if we're not going to be camping, doing like we did last year, that'd be nice just to have a smaller pack for, just carrying your daily stuff, maybe a emergency kit for an overnight if you needed it, but that 1800 would be nice for that.
But as far as like for my pack situation, like I hunted one time this year without my camera arm and big camera and stuff, and I just brought the GoPro out. And so out of all the hunts that I've done this year, every one has been with a camera, like full on everything, except for one time I just brought the GoPro, and I was like, when I was in my last day in Missouri, my batteries were dead, and it was like 18 degrees, and I was like, I'm done. That's it. I got the GoPro. I had the little camera, and I was like, that's gonna be good enough. I got my phone. So the amount of things that I actually carry besides camera or filming gear is nothing. Like, so I've been looking really hard and curious about like that's why I was asking you about like how much can you fit in that fanny pack, because especially that monster, like I like the way that yours turns into that bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But that monster with the shoulder straps, and I could lay my sticks across the top of it or the bottom of it, either way. I think I could really get away with
just
something like that. And when I first started hunting with Frank, that's all we used was fanny packs, and it was like, okay, I'm paring it down to nothing. And then we started hunting, like when we started going to Ohio and stuff, it was like all day sits, and now we got to bring food, and we got to bring this, we got to do that. And
right.
It just became more and more and more and more. And now it's like, well, I got this pack and everything. But I don't really see, like, I don't have like a real issue, like not bringing things. But with the camera arm, and I've been looking at those, like, I've been looking pretty hard at, like, that beast camera arm, and like it looks like it's just like the Lone Wolf one. But I mean, do you see how that attaches and how everything goes on with that?
I haven't looked at it close, no.
So all it is like, it's like a 3-part or a 2-part thing, like the top part of yours, but where it would normally go down into your base, the base is just a solid piece with standoffs and a Versa button, and then it's got a big T that levels it, but then it also like tightens it
right
off of that thing, and then you either run a head off of it, or you run, like what Dan Info runs is like one of those trigger ball heads. But the beauty of it was it would just all fold flat and just be one thing, And like I said, with this top stick platform, it's just one less thing that I got to fuck around with. I don't got to add anything to it. I don't got to put anything on it. I don't have to. It's just there and it's done.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty slick when you were setting up your cameraman for me that day. It was, you're up there and you're done. Where I get up there and it doesn't, I mean, once you get used to it, putting those 3 steps on, just, it's not bad. But I'd like to try out the Predator platform. I mean, of course, it's pricey. I mean, like, they're like
$160, which I don't think is that bad. I mean, realistically, yeah, you can buy a bunch of tree stands with that. You can buy XOP, that Evo. You can buy that for that. But
maybe I'll sell the old Summit and then.
Yeah, going like full on.
Yeah.
But, to me, like I said, I fought the saddle hunting thing like veganism or CrossFit or hunting from a kayak, like it's just a fad or like something. And a lot of people, that's what I see online, is people saying like, oh, it's just going to be one of these things. But it's the simplicity of it. Like and that's what people say is like, oh, I read it today. I'm saying, well, it's so complicated and it can't be comfortable and all that stuff. And it's like, really, I mean, the way that I'm doing it, like the hardest part is setting up the sticks. And today and yesterday both, I climbed right next to Frank when he was setting up all of his stuff, and we got to the same height, and I was up there in the same amount of time.
Right.
The difference is that he's already sitting down and hunting, and if I weren't setting up camera gear and all that, I would be hunting too.
Exactly. I was saying, he's not setting a camera arm up and getting all that shit ready.
Yeah.
Where, you get to a tree with your climber, you got to hook it on, then you got to make sure it's adjusted right, because I don't know how many times I've got up there and it's like you got to eyeball it just right, and the platform's either too high or too low, and you either got to go back down or you got to try to do it the dumb way and do it while you're up there, which I don't suggest anyone do that. But I mean, so in the meantime, you're getting your sticks out, putting them on, and you're climbing up, and you get up there and.
Yeah, so by the time he got his stand set at the bottom of the tree and got into it and was climbing, I had my first 2 sticks set. I was putting on my last layer of clothes, hooking up my bow rope, and climbing up to, I got my lineman's belt out. Then I got that around the tree. And so I was already, somewhere around 10 foot or so up, and he was catching up to me. And so then I set my stick, get up there, set my next stick, and hooked on my tether, and I was there. Now he's got his bow holder on his bow, or on the top of his stand, and he pulled up his bow and he was there.
Right.
I still had to hang up my backpack, get out the camera arm, this, that, all that stuff. But it wasn't that much different in the amount of time, the amount of effort, agility, all that sort of thing is a little bit different. But
that, and you can get in any tree with your setup. You're doing a climber, you got to find just the right tree. I mean, you got to find a tree with no limbs. But back to, speaking of bow ropes, this is just a quick little thing. If you guys, Adam's seen me, I got 3 different bow ropes, or 3 different ropes I got, and they're always a tangled fucking mess. And it's like, Adam's like, get one of them dog straps. I'm like, no, that thing, I actually have an extra one, and it's like loud and cumbersome. Go to Urban Bowman's YouTube page and watch his
paracord,
the little paracord tutorial on it. And I got out to my tree, I pulled my shit out of my pack, and I just rewrapped them all just like that. And that's slicker than fuck. No tangles, and just hooked it on. And as I climbed up, it come out, and I didn't have any problems. So thanks, Taylor, for that one.
Yeah. Bow ropes are the bane of my existence. And I watched that video, and I didn't go that far. I guess I watched it the way that I watch anything else, and I just glean the information that I want, because I do wrap it the way that he says to wrap it.
On the figure 8 on your hand?
Yeah. But then I just loop it around, and then I just go.
I did it just like you did. You tuck it through, and then as you go up, it just pulls out, and it doesn't tangle.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
So
either way, like I say, Frank could have used that today. He dropped his bow from 6, 7, 8 feet up.
What, did you get a knot in it?
Well, he thought he had it hooked onto his the top of his climber, and he was lowering it down, and he had a loop in it. So he thought that the loop was like tight, and so he just let go of that, and the loop just went, and the bow went. The whole rope just let go.
Did it do the cartwheel?
No, it just went. He goes, and he says, broke the fucking sight off my bow, snapped it right off, but it didn't. I thought it did. It looked like it, but
maybe you'll hit deer now. A little ground tuning.
Fell down a well, eyes go cross, kicked by a donkey. Back to normal. I don't know. So, yeah, I think that's kind of all we got for today. As far as, that's basically everything that we've used and gone through this year. And
yeah, I don't know if people seen it in the video or not, but I'm still shooting my bow from last year, my RX-1. Mm-hmm. My elk setup, basically 80-pound limbs, 560 grain axis arrows. So.
Yeah,
I did the trick on that doe. I was playing the video back of the non-video of her, but you can hear the sound, and it's pretty brutal sounding.
Pretty violent. Yeah, I don't know. I've got so much video to edit and produce, but I got my camera, I got my computer back and upgraded and everything, and it seems to be going pretty slick for editing to this point. And all the video that I had from today's hunt was in 4K, and the computer did not really like that so much when I was doing like 100 different things at once. but it seems to be working pretty good. So I should have, I would say by the end of the week after this podcast comes out, Frank's hunt up, because I don't have to do anything to it. It's pretty much in real time. I didn't have to self film it, so it was and it's good. I mean, he missed a really nice buck, and I got pretty good video of the buck and the whole thing. So it's pretty cool.
Stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, we'll get him on here for that story. That's pretty much everything that we've got today for everything that we've done this year. So I do appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging around, sticking with us if you made it this far. And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Shut up and sit down.